What were the specific units that you were a part of?
The 607th Graves Registration Company.
What platoon?
4th.
And what was your specific role in that unit?
Well, there were 125 enlisted men and officers in that unit. We were a separate unit. We were attached to different companies and divisions for provisions. My role was to help gather and bury the soldiers, American and German, that were killed. And we were in harm's way almost every day for 11 months, from Normandy, D-Day invasion, until the end of the war, 100 miles west of Berlin in Eisenach, Germany. After a few days, they're bloated, you know. And sometimes if they've been in there for a while, you know, you have some maggots on them then. But usually the maggots, that's not until they're disinterred.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of that. But let me just tell you what it's like. The stench gets in your clothes, okay?
It gets in the clothes.
The stench gets in your clothes. You're sleeping at night on the ground, hopefully with a tent over you or some damn thing. Hopefully with some kind of a, you're not indoors anywhere, you're outdoors. And you're sleeping in your clothes. I'm talking about me, okay? I know, this is what I went through. I slept in my clothes and my boots.
Yeah.
They don't give you fresh clothes every day, you know?
For the people who don't know, you're wearing the same thing every single day.
Yeah. And later, as the war progressed, sometimes you'd find some civilian to wash your clothes for you. When we picked them up, we're putting them on what we call litters, stretchers, and then put on a truck, and then taken back to a temporary cemetery, and then taken off the truck, put on a litter, because these bodies, a lot of them just stacked up in the trucks.
Yeah.
You know, they're stacked up. The Germans too, because we buried the Germans also in a separate cemetery, usually across the road from the American cemetery. And
so you guys would travel with the truck and the bodies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then when you take them back, then that's when they're processed.
Okay.
We also picked up bodies from medical the medics from collecting points where they attended the wounded, and then the dead we picked up from them, or in some cases even dying. Anyway, back at the temporary cemetery now, in addition to collecting the personal effects and putting them in personal effects bags, small bags, then paperwork had to be done. Once in a while I would get lucky and I could do some typing. I knew how to type. So once in a while I could do some typing that had to be done.
What's the paperwork involved for?
Well, the paperwork involved is where they were killed, how they were killed, you know.
Is this a lot of guesswork?
Yeah. We didn't have desks, but...
No, guesswork. Like
guesswork?
You're guessing all of it. Cause
some of it's guesswork. Because sometimes we picked up a body that might have been there for a day or two, you know, and sometimes they're fresh. So sometimes you knew if they were killed by small arms fire or by grenades, shrapnel,
Do you
whatever.
actually interview the guys in the soldier's company to see how he died? Or is it just based on how you see it?
That's just our guess.
Got it.
And then so anyway, paperwork had to go with the personal effects, and so the cemetery, we were in a wooded area in Belgium. I think of Belgium a lot.
Why is that?
Because I was there for a length of time. We got there in September, just before the Battle of the Bulge, and we were there in that coldest winter in 30 years. And you talk to guys that were frostbitten and
You probably saw a lot of bodies with frostbite.
Yeah, and I've heard there were like 40,000 guys that were frostbitten. It was the coldest winter in 30 years. It was very, very cold. And
I thought it was the coldest winter of the century.
No, 30 years. And anyway, you know, what I was going to say is it's very grotesque. I talked to people who had a loved one buried over there, you know, because talking about putting them in a mattress cover and in the dirt, buried like you'd bury your dog, you know. And so I've thought about that many times since then and thinking, you know, at least when I die, I'm going to be put in a casket and not just take my body and put it in a mattress cover and put them down 6 feet in the dirt. We had to handle these bodies in Germany that were disinterred with maggots all over them, and they were decomposed after being buried just a very short time, maybe a month. Yeah, maybe a month. Yeah, at the most, or less. And they're decomposed already, and their hair is gooey. Fingernails grow, you know. Beards still growing, you know. It's grotesque. It's horrible. Nobody should have to go through this. Plus the stench is in May. And so we had to do that. Some other guys that were in our company when we were separated had to go out and find isolated graves. A tanker, you knew damn well they burned to death. You saw the charcoal, big ball of charcoal there. There's a dead body there. That's what impressed me the most were the tankers. That was a tough deal to be in a tank and try to get out of that thing after it's hit and catches on fire, and you're trying to get out of the turret. But other than that, you're seeing guys that look very natural. You're seeing guys that are limbs missing. You're picking up limbs. You know,
you're picking up limbs.
Well, of course. What do you do? You don't leave the limbs there. You know.
What do you do with the limbs when you get a pile of them?
Yeah, you just put it with the body. You know?
Oh, okay.
But you know, I'll tell you, I worked at it from a distance. I didn't want to get too involved.
What does that mean, though?
What does it mean?
How can you work at a distance when your hands are...
Because I'm looking, like now, I'm talking to you and I'm looking over here, right? And I can hit you on the hand right now.
Yeah.
I'm looking over here.
I see.
You know,
I
can see you with peripheral vision. I don't want to see you too much.
Yeah.
I'm scared to death of death. Our job was to gather and bury the dead, Americans and Germans. We used to have somebody dig the graves, either black servicemen in the army or Germans, mostly Germans. Germans had to go through ice at the Battle of the Bulge to get through the ice with jackhammers. We put them in mattress covers. We had to do the processing. We had to collect their personal effects and put them in a little drawstring olive drab bag with a label on it, and put all of their personal effects in there except bloodied pictures. Okay, because a lot of their pictures had blood all over them. They don't want to send those home to the next of kin. Then whoever sent them, I think, to Kansas City where they were processed, and then all of that went to their families.
So what did you do with the bloody pictures?
Threw them away. Okay, so then we put them in mattress covers. And then as I look back now, you know, I think about these guys buried in the dirt. A lot of these guys were buried 2, 3, or maybe 4 times in the dirt before they were put in caskets in permanent cemeteries. And at that time, and I know a lot about Henri Chapelle because we were there before, during, and after the Battle of the Bulge until we went into Germany. We had 19,300 buried there then. And what they did is 2 years after the war, the permanent cemeteries were built. So all of those bodies had to be disinterred by local civilians that were paid. And they had caskets, and they were put in caskets. They were sprayed first with, what do you call it, that preservative, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so did you ever take, in school, in lab, with cats, sprayed with
sulfuric acid?
Yeah, no, it's a different word. I can't say the word right now. Sulfur? Something ends with hide, Hide. Anyway, because preventing disease, and all you had was bones, actually, there 2 years later, you know, and pieces of the mattress cover, you know, and a dog tag on the body, dog tag on the cross, because now they had the marble crosses, white marble crosses, marble from Italy, by the way, beautiful crosses and beautiful stars of David. And so they were put in these caskets, and then the next of kin had the prerogative of having the body shipped back home at any cemetery they wanted, free, or left over there and buried in the permanent cemetery, which are beautiful. You ever seen one? Well, you got to get over there and see one. There are a lot of them. You know, I've seen probably about 8 of them from Italy, France, Belgium. None of them in Germany. All of the soldiers that were killed in Germany, the day after Memorial Day, remember when the war ended, May 8th, 45, Memorial Day came, the end of May, they had services, and then all those bodies had to be disinterred. We had German prisoners digging the graves. We had to re-identify the bodies, the remains, and make sure that the remains went with the cross into a box for transport back to France or Belgium in a temporary cemetery again. And so, remember, the permanent cemeteries weren't built yet, so they were putting temporary cemeteries again. That must be my wife. I don't want to talk about all this stuff with her here.
Yeah.